Episode 1 of Is the Family Alright? My Family, Your Family, Our Story. The clock strikes 6:30 a.m. and Susan wakes up beside her husband Richard. She sits up, stretches, and walks out of the room, turning up the house lights in her wake until she reaches a door. She walks in and softly shakes her daughter Dada awake, telling her to wake up and help her prepare breakfast. Dada gets up and sleepily walks to the kitchen, where she starts getting things ready. We meet up with Susan, who has started waking everyone else up. Everyone gets up except for Tammy, who just turns to his other side and goes back to sleep. Susan, Data, Emmy, and Lolia are now in the kitchen. When Susan tells Emmy to wash and boil the rice, Emmy says she thought Susan was going to make onunu instead. Susan says she knows she promised to make onunu, but she doesn't have the strength to pound today. Emmy then says Susan doesn't have to pound and that Data can do it. Data eyes her sister and asks Emmy if she ever offered to do that. And anyone who wants to eat onunu has to pound it. She is fine with the rice that she knows she can cook. Emmy then says that she'll pound it, and how hard can it be even? Lolia chimes in that she'll help Emmy pound. Susan and Data just look at each other and shake their heads. Susan then tells them to get the yam and plantains ready, and they all get to work. Richard comes into the kitchen calling Susan's name and asking when the food will be ready. When he sees Emmy struggling to pound the onunu, he stops short and asks her what she's doing. Seeing her way out, she cries at him to come and help her pound. He resists, but then she reminds him of how he always tells them stories of how he would help his mother pound when he was younger. He should show them his skills now. He finally agrees and goes to pound the onunu. They start cheering him on, and that's how the food is made. Everyone finally sits down to eat, and Data asks Richard if he was lying when he said he used to help his mother in the kitchen. Because the Onuno is seedy because he didn't pound the yam very well. He defends himself, saying that it's been a very long time for him, and everyone is laughing when Tammy strolls in looking for food. But before he can even get his food, Richard tells him to go and iron his Etibor first before Nepa takes flight. Susan tells him to iron her own too, and Data also sends him to iron her dress. He grumbles about it, but he concedes when they point out he didn't help in making breakfast, so he should do something to help out. He begrudgingly agrees, then Emmy playfully asks him if he wants to help her iron her own dress, and he loudly cries no, making all of them laugh. After eating, Emmy sees Tammy still ironing the clothes and laughs at him. He pretends to chase after her and she runs into her room and closes the door before he can get to her. Richard is getting dressed and is having trouble with his cufflinks. He tells Susan to help him and she does. Then she's having trouble tying her gilly, but she calls Data to help her instead. As Data is helping her, Susan is talking about how nobody is ready and she will leave them if they're not done by the time she's ready to leave for church. Data is confused by this because she's running late all because she's helping Susan. So she calls Richard to come and help Susan instead so she can go and finish getting ready. Richard is already ready, so he goes to help Susan, but Susan doesn't want him to help. Data doesn't care about that and leaves anyway. Susan still doesn't let Richard help her and he sighs in frustration. Emmy and Tammy emerge wearing identical outfits, but before they can change, Susan calls that she's leaving without them. They can't change their clothes now, so they go down like that, but playfully banter about the other one copying them. Since Tammy did not eat breakfast, he hurriedly puts his food in a flask, while also complaining that they ate everything and left so little for him, to which Susan says next time he should come down on time. They pile into their seven-seater car, and Tammy eats his food in the back seat. Lolia asks him for some, but he grumbles that it's too small to share. Data tells him that what Lolia wants is to lick the stew, that he is happy to share and gives her some stew to lick, and she's happy. Data and Emmy are worried that they will smell like food and proceed to spray themselves with perfume to mask the food smell, making Tammy choke in the process, which then causes an argument. Richard shouts at them to keep quiet from the driver's seat. After everyone quiets down, Susan suddenly wonders if her married daughter Faye will be going to church. She wishes Faye still came to their church, but Richard muses that that's the circle of life. She now has her own family and church that they now go to. Data chimes up that they should not worry, that she will stay with them for a long time without getting married. Richard wonders if that's a threat, and they all laugh. We move to Faye's house when she's getting ready for church. At the last minute, she pauses for a second, then looks at a little table calendar and sees that she hasn't gotten her period recently. She starts panicking and then decides not to go to church. Her husband, Jide, wants to make sure she is fine, but she assures him that she's good and asks him what he wants to eat when he gets home. He tells her not to worry about him and just rest, and she agrees. Jide and his mom still go to church. The family go to their Anglican church, and when they get out of the car, Richard gives them offering money and they all disperse to their various churches. As they split between adult and children's church, Emmy catches Tammy trying to sneak into the adult service. He walks behind Susan, Data, and Richard, and he keeps imitating Richard, who is adjusting his cufflinks. When Emmy calls him out, Susan sends him back, despite Richard's attempt to intervene. Tammy chases after a laughing Emmy, who grabs Lolia's hands as they run to the children's church. When Data, Susan, and Richard enter the adult church, Data quickly finds a seat at the back, while her parents continue on. Richard finds a pew with enough space and gestures to Susan, but she motions that she will keep going. She continues on with her heels click-clacking in the quiet cathedral, which makes people look up as she makes her way to the front. She finally gets to the front of the church and has to inconvenience people to get to the middle of the pew. This gets people whispering about her. Seeing this, Richard just shakes his head before bowing it in prayer. After church ends, the women and men committee have a meeting, which Susan and Richard are part of. The kids are waiting for them to be done with their meetings. Data is playing with Lolia when she sees a guy walking towards her and waves at him. She then calls Tammy to go and buy something for Lolia from the Malam opposite the church. He agrees and starts to leave, but she calls him back to take Lolia with him. He doesn't want to as he wants to go with his friends instead, but Data just tells him to take Lolia and almost pushes Lolia into his arms, all the while staring at the boy walking towards her. Tammy and Lolia finally leave just as the boy reaches Data. He's also waiting for his parents to be done with meetings, so they start talking. They're kind of flirty and they talk about school and the new semester starting. They're both heading back to university that week. Tammy and Lolia join Emmy and her friend Kosi. Kosi is begging Emmy to be on the lookout for when her mom is coming so she can wear the jacket and hat her mom forced her to wear to church. Emmy tells her to just wear them now since church is already over and her mom will be out any second. But Kosi is adamant about maintaining her style till she can't anymore. Tammy pipes up that she has never really had style so she shouldn't worry too much. She retorts by saying she won't be taking advice from someone still wearing the same clothes with their twin at their age. The twins, Emmy and Tammy, start defending themselves. Meanwhile, Lolia has put on Kosi's jacket and hat, and they all laugh when they notice her catwalking with it. At the women's meeting, they bring up their bi-monthly get-together. It's Susan's turn to host the women at her house, but she then suggests having the meeting at the restaurant instead of her home. The women are excited at having their get-together at a different location and start praising her. Richard just happens to hear this on leaving his own meeting, and he doesn't look so happy about the news. Faye's husband Jide and his mom Kaine are also heading back from church when she asks if Faye is okay since she didn't go to church. He says his wife is fine, and his mother asks again if she is really, really fine. Jide laughs and tells her to ask Faye herself because his mother is even closer to Faye than him. He stops at the restaurant to get Faye her favorite meat pie. When they get back in the car, his mother wonders if her staying home has anything to do with her getting pregnant, and he wants his mom not to pressure her or bring the topic up. She tries to act like it was just a harmless question, but he is stern when he tells her that he is serious, and she should never ask Faye anything about that. She's now like, so I can't even ask my son a question, but he tells her not to act innocent. Then she's like, sorry, let me make mistake, but he doesn't take back what he said. When they get back home, Faye is in the kitchen making some food. He gives her the meat pie he bought for her and blatantly kisses her in front of his mother, who now has to avert her eyes. Faye is shy and wrestles herself away from his grasp with a playful slap to his chest and immediately asks Jude's mother for advice on the dish she's making. It is one of Jude's favorite, and we get a cute segment of mother and daughter-in-law cooking and bonding. When the food is ready, they all sit down to eat together, and Faye is all smiles. They wonder if she has some good news because she's all smiles, but she just says she's happy. Someone is knocking at the gate, and as Tanner is about to head out to the gate, his mother tells him to tell whoever it is that she's not around. It's their church people who came to check up on them as they didn't go to church. He tells them that his mother isn't around, and the church members leave, saying his family is in their prayers. He gets visibly angry when they say that. Tana goes back inside and asks his mom if she needs him to do anything else because he's getting ready to go back to school. His mom wants him to stay another day, but he only agrees to stay when his younger sister, Faith, asks him. He texts someone saying he can't make it, and the person replies almost immediately, but he throws his phone on the bed without checking the message and leaves the room. Data and Emmy are painting their nails. She tells Emmy that she knows she's still in secondary school and cannot have nail polish on, but Emmy says she'll be wearing socks and won't get caught. Data laughs at that and tells her that the seniors in her school will still find out and punish her. Emmy says that all the seniors are her friends. Before they can say more though, their father Richard calls Data to his room. He gives her some money that she had asked for, which is for her school apartment. She's so happy and hugs him, saying, "Thank you, thank you." He tells her that since he has done what he promised, she needs to do what she promised him. She tries to pretend she doesn't hear him and sneakily tries to leave the room, but he pulls her back into his room. She tells him that the money is not complete because it doesn't include the one for her sewing machine. He tells her to talk to Susan again about that thing, and then he'll complete the money for her. She is perplexed as she tells him that she has tried, but her mother won't hear it. And honestly, this isn't something a child should be doing. He tells her that if she talks to Susan again, he will give her the money for her sewing machine early and add extra, and she's happy to hear that. Just then, Susan walks in and asks what they're talking about. They both pretend to be talking about something else. Susan just shakes her head and leaves the room. Once she's out the door, Richard suddenly turns serious and tells Data to talk to her mother or no money for her. She's not happy about this ultimatum. Tanner is watching TV with Faith when his phone rings. It's Chidera calling and he ignores it. After ignoring the incoming calls 3 times, he finally answers the call from Emeka the fourth time his phone rings. Emeka tells him to come out since he and the boys are going to that place to meet up with some girls. Tana declines the offer, saying he's tired, but Emeka pushes and pushes until Tana says he'll join them, then he gets up to go get ready. Data calls her sister Faye to complain about their parents using her to do their dirty work, but Faye is not up for that conversation. She tells Dada that she has left that house and those problems behind, and she is also in support of what Richard wants, but their mother is just too stubborn to see that he is right. Data tries to support Susan and tells Faye that now that Faye is married, shouldn't she understand where Susan is coming from? But Faye is unsympathetic to her mother's plight. Data finally drops the subject and tells her that she'll have her own school apartment soon and that Faye will help her decorate it. Faye is happy for her and says of course she'll help her. Data says that this is why it's good to have an interior decorator as a sister. Faye says how about they do trade by barter? She'll help Data decorate She'll help Data decorate her apartment while Data makes her a dress. Data laughs at Faye's cunningness and tells her to ask her directly and not go through the corners. Faye then directly asks Data to make her a dress, and she agrees, but tells Faye that she'll have to wait a while because Richard hasn't given her the money for her sewing machine yet. Faye has no problem waiting as long as Data has agreed to make it. Faye then tells her she is ready to go to bed, so Data loudly says goodnight to Jide, knowing he will be able to hear her, then hangs up. Jide laughs at her antics and asks Faye if everything is okay. He sighs and says parent drama, but she won't concern herself with that. He tells her that she's being a bad daughter, and she said he is not wrong because the plans she has for him tonight are very naughty. She basically pounces on him and they start making out. Faye wakes up later but just lies in bed, lovingly looking at Jide, who is still asleep. After a while, she gets up and sneaks to a bathroom outside their room. She carefully opens and closes the door. After getting inside, she fishes for something between some folded towels. She had hidden some pregnancy tests there, so she brings them out and tries them. Faye is still waiting for the pregnancy results. She's scared to check, and after a quick pep talk, she gathers the courage to check. We don't see the result, but her eyes get misty, and she hurriedly hides the test kits and runs back to her room. As she hurries to her room, we see that someone is watching her, but we can't tell who it is. The person then goes to the bathroom, ominously opens the door, and the camera pans to the exact place Faye just hid the test. As Tanner is about to leave the house to meet his friends, he sees the Faye to ask why he's going out this late at night and that their mother will be angry. He begs her not to say anything and he's sure she won't come out to check, but that he also won't take too long. But if she asks about him, Faye should say that he went to buy something. She then tells him to buy her suya in exchange for her help and he promises to. Tanner meets up with his friends in his mom's car. As Tana pulls up at the location, Emeka rushes to the driver's side. Almost see who don't show, the big man himself. Emeka announces, opening the car door for Tana with flourish. We thought you were too busy counting money to hang with us these days. Tana's smile tightens slightly, but he plays along. You know how it is. Emeka says, I know, life of a big boy. Then he adds casually, speaking of, you're ordering the first round today, Abby? Tana tells them that he doesn't have money today, but maybe next time. Emeka tells him it's fine and they go inside. The other guys seem to be having fun, but Tana is mostly quiet with a bottle of water. The others are dancing with girls, but he's sitting down by himself. A girl also sitting down by herself catches his eye, and she does a double take at his features. He notices that and smirks to himself. Suddenly, his posture gets better and he now drinks his water with flourish. After a couple minutes of staring and no action, the girl takes matters into her hands, walks up to him, and drags him to the dance floor. After dancing for a while, he offers to buy her a drink, but she refuses and leaves to join her friends. He longingly looks at her go, but suddenly shakes his head and decides to leave too. He pulls his wallet out of his pocket to pay for his drink, but when he asks for the bill, they give him the bill for everyone's order. He gives them money for his bottle of water, but the waiter says that he told him Tana will pay for everything. He starts to argue with the waiter, who then finally calls Emeka to come and clarify things. Emeka comes over acting oblivious, saying that normally Tana always pays, so he didn't think too much about it. Tana says he understands, but he's not paying for everyone today, and he told them that before coming in. Emeka is no longer acting oblivious, and that's why he even came because he's not good company today. Tana doesn't care and just slams his own portion of the money on the table and tells them to figure it out, but he's leaving. The waiter and Emeka try to stop him again, but he's not even smiling with them this time. Then he storms out of the place, gets into the car, and slams his head back into the headrest in anger. After that, he peels out of the parking lot.